Welcome to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast, the podcast all about the delicate balance between people and business, and quite literally reconnecting the two. My name is Tracy Rubin, and I've spent nearly my entire professional career in HR. Join me as I share stories, opinions, and words of advice with you each week. Welcome back to the podcast. I am officially married, and I am officially celebrating the 1-year anniversary since starting this podcast. Everything that I have been counting down the days for is finally here. So happy anniversary to everyone. If you've been here with me since the beginning, thank you so much. And if you're new to this podcast, to this, to listening, to being a part of my life, then thank you as well for being here. I just can't believe where this podcast has gone in 52 weeks, in 1 year. I mean, it's insane. If you go back to the first episode where I talk about destigmatizing HR and why I'm doing what I'm doing, I've grown so much. I probably should listen back to it. Maybe I'll do that as in honor of the 1-year anniversary, but I just can't listen back to episodes. It's weird. If I go back and I listen, then I hear something that I didn't want to say or wanted to expand on, or I realize that I forgot to talk about something and it just irritates me. So I don't know. Maybe I will listen though, but I just can't believe it's been 1 year since starting the podcast. That's insane. Before I jump into some of the things that I want to talk about in honor of this 1-year celebration, including some seriously big news that I have to share, I just want to remind you to follow me on Instagram, HR Tracy, that's HRTRACI. We can connect there. Maybe I'll use this as a segue into one of the big things that I'm doing in honor of this anniversary. So, what is the big thing? What I want to do in honor of this anniversary is a giveaway. That's right. I said it, a giveaway. I'm turning into one of those. Watch out. I wanted to do a giveaway, and actually I had posted this on Instagram, my stories a little while back, asking you what you thought would be interesting or exciting as a giveaway in honor of the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. And so many of you submitted this as an idea. There were a lot of really good ideas, but this one was the most commonly submitted, and that is to receive a free career conversation, coaching conversation with me. So I kind of doubled down on this. The giveaway prize is not only a career coaching conversation or session with me, but also a resume review. So I'm going to do both of those things as part of the giveaway on Instagram. So basically the resume review and career coaching session, which is honestly more than an hour's worth of time, especially the resume review, certainly depending on how much feedback I have, it could take a little bit longer. So you'd have probably about an hour with me over Zoom or however, over the phone, FaceTime, whatever is the winner's preferred method. And that I thought would hopefully be an exciting giveaway prize because so many of you reach out about, questions or advice or wanting feedback. And again, this was the most submitted prize suggestion. So the way the giveaway is going to work on Instagram is basically you'll have from the moment that I post the giveaway instructions on Instagram, so let's say Tuesday morning until Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to submit your entries. And the way you submit an entry is by liking the post, commenting 2 or more friends that you think would enjoy the podcast in the comments, basically tagging your friends. And then if you'd like some extra bonus entries, you can reshare the post on Instagram to your Instagram stories. And then I will submit all of those entries, the number of entries that you've submitted, into a universal poll drawer. Basically, I've used this for work where you enter every name and then it picks out the person's name based on the number of entries. And it's kind of probability and luck. And then it will draw the name, and then the winner will be announced Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern on my Instagram. and we will go from there. So hopefully that's an exciting prize for you. I think time is money, right? Time is valuable. And you have given me so much of your time by listening to this podcast over the last year. So I want to give you some of my time and hopefully make an impact on your experience, your career in a more individualized way. So if you are interested in being part of this giveaway, part of this potential winning of a resume review and career coaching conversation, then please go to Instagram, take a look at that post, like, comment, reshare, do whatever you've got to do to get some entries in there, and good luck, maybe you'll win. Okay, so we talked about the giveaway. That's obviously some big news. Really excited about that. I'm excited to talk about the results next week as well, because obviously we will know by then. I have some more big news, but before I get into that, I wanted to share some interesting stories from my wedding, which honestly was like the best day of my life. There's always something that, like, they tell you always, there's always something that goes wrong, like nothing will be perfect. But I had to say, even though there were like small, minor things, everything was perfect. Like, I feel like what I did to plan the wedding, everything that I had done leading up to that day and on that day was just like, it was executed, it was done, it was easy to keep it easy, I guess. Like, there were moments that stressed me out, but it had nothing to do with my planning of the wedding and everything to do with like small, minor things that actually bear no weight looking back on things. So if you're getting married, just let things go. It's honestly not worth it. That was the advice my mom gave me before basically like the night before, actually, she gave us now my husband and I both this advice, like if something comes up, something is bothering you, just let it go. It's not worth it. And I'm glad that she gave us that advice. We both listened and it worked out great. So here is like a little anecdote. During the wedding, like the ceremony, the party, there were moments where different individuals had an opportunity to share their thoughts and opinions on myself and my husband. I have to get used to saying husband, so I'm just going to have to say it when I can, because it's weird. So like our rabbi talked about us in different ways, and he mentioned my passion for HR. And then in the speeches, in the reception, my dad talked about HR, my sister talked about HR, and my husband's cousin, who is his best man, talked about my passion for, like being decisive and planning and careers and stuff. And I realized, like, gosh, have I made it that clear that I love this job, that I love this career and this industry? And it was a funny moment for me because everything kind of felt like it was coming full circle, thinking about how this podcast was coming up on a year that was obviously top of mind. Even during my wedding, it was top of mind, especially when everyone was talking about those parts of me. And it's funny to hear other people talk about you or describe you or share a funny story or anecdote. And I don't know, I walked away from hearing those things thinking, wow, I'm really consistent. And, there was an episode, if you go back, where I spoke with Ron Thurston, the author of Retail Pride and Experienced Retail Leader. And it's called Knowing What You Stand For. And so this was really a full circle moment for me because it's like, I remember walking away from that recording thinking, well, what is it that I stand for? And what do I want people to remember me for or think about when they hear my name? And obviously one of those things is that I'm passionate about HR. I'm passionate about bringing people and business together and like really taking this career and turning it on its head and taking this industry and turning it on its head specifically. And so hearing, these different individuals from different parts of my life talk about those things was really nice because it was just nice to know that I've managed to really be consistently who I am and make it clear what I stand for, make it clear for like what I care about. So that was cool. I wanted to share that because, I thought maybe it would be helpful for anyone who's really trying to establish what it is that they stand for. So now on to the long-awaited big news that I said I was going to share. Okay, there are two things The first is that we are going to be moving to Ohio in June. I mean, that's crazy. We're moving for 1 year and we're moving because of my husband's job. So it's only a year. It's not a big deal. But actually, the both of us have never lived outside of New York or New Jersey. So that is definitely a big change for us. I think it's exciting. I love new adventures and change in general. He, not so much. So we'll get there. But we're both really excited. He's obviously excited for this opportunity. It was a big accomplishment for him, so there's not much to be nervous about. Really only excitement over here. So that is big. I will be working remotely for the year, which is wonderful. But the big news gets bigger, really big. So I have actually decided to accept a new job. This is huge for me. This feels like major news because I have been at my current company for more than 4 years and I love every single person that I work with. I love what I do. I love the company that I work for. And so I've been really happy, and I didn't necessarily think that there was going to be a time that I was going to leave. Naturally, when you are working day in and day out, there are going to be days and times where you're like, screw this, like I gotta go somewhere else. I can't take it anymore. And like, I'm human. I've definitely had those moments, but I never left. Like I always was just like, nah, the grass is not always greener. I know that. I like where I am, and I don't want to, take this for granted. I don't want to give this up. But then someone reached out to me and piqued my interest. And 2 weeks later, I was offered a job as director of HR for retail, basically the same role that I do now, but bigger, and I think not necessarily better, but something that will take me to the next level of my career. So I accepted, and I gave a little bit more than a month's notice. And this was basically right before my wedding. Like I accepted at the end of September, and I was like, holy crap, this is a lot of change. There's a lot that's happening. And actually the news about going to Ohio happened like right after accepting the role. But I'll dive into like those conversations and how I talked about the reality of needing to work fully remotely for 1 year to my new employer, because I did share that because it's important information. And it all worked out. So, there are certain moments in your life and career where things just feel right. And this was one of those moments where I had gone through the interviews in like not even 2 weeks, and it all just clicked. And actually it reminded me of the experience I had when I interviewed and accepted a role at my current company, because that is how it felt then too. It was like not even 2 weeks of interviewing, and everything just worked out pretty organically. I was doing the interviews, and then the offer felt right, and I accepted the offer. And yeah, so thinking about now having that experience, it felt right. And it was a very difficult decision to make, because obviously I've grown so much and gotten so much from my current employer and my supervisor and my team and my colleagues, my partners. There's so much that I've taken away from this experience, but it was just the right decision for me. So I couldn't share that information earlier in the month with all of you, because naturally I had to make sure that my team and my colleagues were aware first. So now that they know, you are allowed to know. And I'm really excited. I actually will be starting in 1 week less than 1 week from the time this episode airs. So the Monday, November 1st is my very first day. I'm not taking any time off because I just came back from my honeymoon, and, I'm ready to go. I want to just kind of hit the ground running. It's the busiest season for retailers. And I'm just excited to kind of get going and meet everyone. So that's super huge news. I mean, I am a little nervous. Like anything new is always going to be a little nerve-wracking, even for someone like me who likes change. And I think the thing that makes me a little nervous is that I'm going from a place where I have really strong relationships built and trusting relationships. And you all know I talk about this a lot on the podcast, that this is such an important part of being a leader and being an HR leader are those relationships. And so I have all of these strong relationships that are trusting in both ways. Like they trust me and I trust them. And knowing that I'm going to have to start fresh and create new trusting relationships is a little nerve-wracking because you never really know. I mean, some people you don't click with, some people you click with really well. And even though I think you don't have to like someone or click with them to have a trusting relationship, there is always that little voice in the back of my head that I want to be liked. And, I want the people that I work with to appreciate what I do or appreciate me. So hopefully when I start, I go into every new situation the same way. I ask a lot of questions. I listen. I let people know me on a personal and authentic level. And, I don't try to be anyone that I'm not. I'm just myself. And so hopefully doing nothing differently and just being myself and will, accomplish anything that I want to accomplish, will allow me to establish those trusting relationships. And I obviously really love the person that I am going to be reporting into. He's fabulous already. And so I'm really looking forward to learning from someone new. Because actually, I've had the same supervisor for the last 4.5 years. And while I have an amazing relationship with her and I love her, I think she's a fabulous leader, there is always something new to learn from someone new. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if that's the big news you thought you were going to hear. I was a little afraid to ask what you thought was the big news on Instagram because I did share in my stories that I had big news to share. And I was like, get ready. Hope you're excited. But I didn't ask what you thought the big news was, mostly because I was a little bit too nervous to hear bigger news. So to me, this is big news. I hope it's not a letdown. I think that this is pretty exciting. I'm going to have a lot of, hopefully, interesting anecdotal information and content for you. Some of the things that I'm thinking about are onboarding in this environment where it's hybrid, for example, getting established in a new environment, leaving a company and leaving in the right way, because that obviously was super important to me. All of those things I see as future episodes. Next week, for sure, I want to talk about how you can successfully and effectively and kindly leave a current employer for another employer and what that really should and can look like. Because I definitely, was very cognizant that I wanted to leave on the best terms possible naturally, and I wouldn't leave in any other way, but I always make a conscious effort to do certain things. I do things intentionally and with thought. So that was my intention and thought, that I want to leave on the right note, leave on the right terms, do the most that I can to set up my team and my colleagues for success, and then I can leave with peace of mind. So that was, over the last 3 weeks at this point, now 4 weeks, going into the 4th week that this episode launches, that's been my number one goal. And if you've been here, at least whether it's from the beginning or in the last few months, you know that I actually really struggled to find someone to join my team, and then I finally was able to promote someone internally into a retail recruiter role, reporting directly into me. That was a huge accomplishment in my career, I would say, but also a huge point of reflection for me when I was looking at potentially accepting this job offer. I didn't want to leave my team, especially since I had just helped him establish his footing in this new career, in this new role. And we obviously have a great relationship, and I didn't want him to feel abandoned, and I didn't want him to feel he was on his own, which obviously he's not. But that was a huge factor in my, decision. And I was like, you know what? I can always be contacted over email. I can always be texted or called. So it's not like I'm leaving the planet. And in realizing that, it helped me to kind of make this decision for myself. So I'm really excited about this next chapter. they know about the podcast. That always is like a little nerve-wracking for me because it's like everything is out there kind of, even though it's not it's just like it's career stuff. It's not like I'm talking about things so personal to me. But, you always want to put a best foot forward. And, I share a lot of opinions on here, and opinions can be very polarizing if someone does not agree or, doesn't like the way that you've presented your opinion. So it's a little nerve-wracking to have a podcast and to meet new people, because even though people always find it really interesting and exciting information, it can be nerve-wracking for sure. But from day one, I said I'm going to just put it out there. This is my podcast. I always want to have a discussion. If there's ever something that I say that you don't agree with, I want you to share your opinion, because that's how we learn and grow. So I guess I don't necessarily need to be so nervous. This is just like a new beginnings jitters, I'll call it. That's what it feels like. But yeah, so that's my exciting big news. We'll talk about this more at length next week, because actually the next week, that episode air date is the very first week of my new job. So my new job starts on the Monday of next week, and the next episode airs on Tuesday. So hopefully maybe I'll actually wait to record on Monday and share what it was like and how I started and everything like that. Or maybe I'll recap the week. I don't know. Stay tuned. We'll see. But I'm really excited. I hope you are excited about this new journey you are going to take with me. I only see, exciting things ahead. I'm sure that there will be challenges and ups and downs like anything else, but at the very least, this is an exciting new chapter, a new journey, and I'm so glad that you are here to join me for this journey, because there's going to be so much to learn and take away and share. And yeah, so here's to new beginnings. Thank you so much for being here for 1 year with me. It's just going back to this, like, I can't believe that it's been 1 year since starting the podcast. I really believe that if something is meant to happen, it will happen. If you go back to the first episode, I talked about having a podcast since like 2017 or 2018. And every year I wrote down this goal of wanting to start a podcast. And then finally in, I guess it was September, my husband was like, get a mic and just do it. And in reality, if it wasn't meant to work, I would have just stopped recording. I would have gotten the mic, I would have recorded something. Maybe I would have never put it on the air. Maybe I would have done only one. But I just kept recording. And so for me, it feels like this was all meant to happen. It was all meant to be. And, the hardest thing is to execute. The easiest thing is to think about it and talk about it and come up with an idea. But the hardest thing is to actually do it. And I'm just so proud of myself for actually doing it. And at this point, I'm hooked. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I definitely want to take this podcast further and further and potentially grow a team out of this. Like, I don't know. I see this being bigger than it is. And I'm just really glad that I committed myself fully to this podcast. Like, there were weeks, you guys, where I was exhausted and I was like, I can't record and edit anything else. And I was like, you know what? No, it doesn't matter. I made a commitment to every single person who tunes in each week to put out an episode. And so I just want to thank you for keeping me motivated and keeping me excited and inspired to always, just keep going. And this has been one of the best decisions that I've made, one of the best things that I've done for myself. And I'm just so glad that I can look back on this year and see the positive and see all of the things that came from just doing it and just, sitting down and actually executing on an idea. And I really appreciate anyone that has, helped to grow the listenership, to grow the podcast, because it's grown in ways that I never thought would happen. The number of listeners that I have today versus the number of listeners that I had on day one, it's life-changing. It's unbelievable how the numbers have grown, and I think that they'll continue to grow. I definitely hope that they will. And I hope that, the goal remains the same, that we're looking to destigmatize HR, bring the human back to human resources, reconnect people in business, and hopefully help in sharing why HR is such a critical function, and to help cultivate better leaders, better HR people. And for those of you who are not in HR, maybe help you in making the transition, or at least helping you and understand your HR partners better. So with that, I just want to thank you again for this amazing year. And here's to the year ahead. It's going to be very exciting. And I hope that you will stay along for the ride. Thank you so much. Don't forget to participate in the giveaway on Instagram. It'll start the day that this episode airs. And I look forward to, if you are the winner, speaking with you in the near future for your resume review and career coaching session. Thank you so much again for being here. Cheers to a year. Have a wonderful week.